Hey guys, so Garbu's with us today, and it might actually be the same next week. I'm sorry, Garbu. I'm sorry. I abandoned you when you're needed, and then
you only come to me when you need me.
For Garbu, you know, it's actually quite nice because it used to be anytime we used to have Garbu on, it was like, oh god, no Garbu. But now you guys actually kind of like him, so I'm happy. So if you like Garbu, check out his channel for God's sake.
So I want you to actually bleep this, but literally it was like, oh good, that Garb, bro. Like, hey guys, how you doing? Hey, that me.
Yeah, we put that in. So anyway, today, I thought that on first glance, it sounds like a really stupid question, but I think there's a lot more to it, and I think it'd be nice to do something that's not complaining about modern tabletop.
Good 5e. X cards. Monkey noises.
It's hard not to, though. Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's be serious. It is really hard not to. But, like, you know, I think it's important to, like, do stuff that's actually, like, fun and interesting.
And nice to hear about.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, like, what's the distinction between sci-fi and fantasy? Is it arbitrary? No, I don't think it is. I think they're actually very different, but very similar. So what I buy into is, I would say that fantasy explores, I know this is going to sound really stupid, but it does explore past. It explores like folklore, and it explores how humans think and feel, and I think it helps light how people see the world around them at that time period whenever the fantasy is written. And sci-fi is an excellent example of where human, again, it kind of it's very political to a certain extent with sci-fi, because even look at like something like Star Trek or 40k, you know, whatever. You know, people try to inject their own ideas on how the future will be. Does that make sense?
Well, there's a bit of a problem where people got the two conflated, because sci-fi merely means science fiction. It's just short. And the main thing about science fiction is that there is some kind of advancement involved. For all things considered, going from like the Bronze Age, if the Bronze Age riders like, soon we'll have steel and our horses will have saddles, that'd be science fiction for the Bronze Age, despite still being, you know, fantasy for the overall genre. So science fiction is merely an advancement of technology, not yet within the scope of actually having it. Like
one of the more interesting ones about sci-fi, especially sci-fi in the last 100 years, a lot of the stuff that people used to think is sci-fi is pretty much a reality. Like, how disappointed were you when it came to, like, see video calls? The idea of video calling when I was a child was considered like the coolest thing ever. It's like, oh my god, you could talk to someone on the phone, you could like see them at the same time. Oh, that's going to be amazing. Oh my god, please, I can't wait. See if people try to video call me now. It's like, I'm hanging that up. I'm not answering to that. How dare you?
It's like, like nowadays, it's actually annoying to get video calls. Like, oh god, this bitch.
Please, no, I really don't want to get a video call.
Yeah.
I accept them now. Just, you know, people want to see Ozzy, so you know, I'm okay with it these days.
Yeah.
But it used to be like, oh my god, please make the pain go away. But you see that time and time again with science fiction, and I do really think it's more for people to Star Trek's a perfect example of it. Like, you know, what happens when we live in a post-scarcity world?
The perfect society.
Unironically, communism makes complete sense in that society, though, and it works very well in that society, because
you heard it here, folks. Neckbeardia is pro-communism. Flame him in the fucking comment section.
No, but it does work though. Like, if no one has to work, again, I think 40k did an amazing job with this, with the Eldar. Again, living in a post need. What's the correct term? A post.
Post-consumer, I guess. Really.
Well, it's not even consumer. It's more just like work. Whenever
post-work
are. Yeah, it is.
Like post-labor in a way.
Yeah, like, you know, you only work if you want to work, and I think 40k did an amazing job with that, with the Eldar. What happens, and I think you saw that again big time with the Kiv. I know so many people that just straight up turned into alcoholics. Like, you know, I've never had this much time off before in their lives, and you know very, like, there's a lot of people that did that.
I was one of them.
But like, there's so many people that don't need to work. What do you do with your lives? And the sad truth of the matter is, so many people become self-destructive You know what I mean? Not enough people. I feel like not enough people that you need hobbies or interests. I think that it's very important for men, especially, to have hobbies and interests. Otherwise, they will just become self-destructive. You know, and I think you saw that with COVID, and you saw that you see it especially with middle-aged men. You ever met that middle-aged man that just can't sit still? You know,
you just keep describing me, bro. God damn it, quit.
Well, what age have you? You've been like 30 for the past like 5 years now, if I remember. Anytime I ask you your age, it's like, yeah, I'm like 32. You know, I don't know. I have no idea what age you are, Garb.
No one knows.
You've been staying the same age for God knows how long. But look, will we jump into this thread and see what other people have to say? I think it's a really interesting topic, and I really want to hear what you guys have to say about ideas and concepts, and what have you done with them? How have you made them different, or how have you tried to inject your own? Have you tried to inject your own worldview into a sci-fi setting? I think a lot of people do, even if they aren't aware of them doing so.
It's hard to avoid doing so, for sure, because it's simply an extension of yourself as you're writing, and you always fall into it. Like me, I fucking hate the UN. And
the ultimate dystopia, the UN takes over. But again, that's a very American way of looking at the world, because, like, you know, like with Lou Wilson with his we're going to create the League of Nations, and then American Congress like, yeah, we're just not joining that. Don't be silly.
Yeah, we're not doing that. Sorry, thanks.
Yeah, like, but honestly, could you imagine, like, the US joining something like the EU? Like, the idea of having something above your head of state is just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah,
you know, it just doesn't. It's so un-American that even if people in America wanted it to work, I'm
not going to lie to you, Chief. This fucking sucks.
Yeah, but you would need to actually, like, completely reshape the American psyche to be able to achieve that, and I think that's where sci-fi really comes into play, is how people change with the world around them and how they react to the world.
How the American domestic terrorist was born. They joined the UN.
It's got. Actually, you know what? Better off not joking about that. Let's just jump into this before I get into trouble. Right?
So I look at the first response is just no.
Well, yeah.
Thank you for really extrapolating out that thought process. No. So practically, there's three things people usually talk about here. Fantasy is a setting. This covers stories that run the gamut of genres, from mysteries to thrillers to adventures, that take place in fantasy worlds or in fantastic versions of the real world, so long as those fantastic things aren't too high-tech, because that would move into sci-fi as a setting.
Nah, but what about Star Wars, though?
Yeah.
Star Wars is a really good example of futuristic fantasy. Like,
so
then again, so fucking Star Trek. Everyone's like, no, Star Trek's so sci-fi. Well, because they slapped a few words on it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
so I want to go through the rest of this, and I'll give you my views on it. So sci-fi's a setting similarly to fantasy, but within its own setting tropes: flying cars, robots, rogue AIs, etc. The story content can be whatever. When these two things mesh together, it becomes kind of a, at what point does a hill become a mountain situation? Is it more sci-fi or fantasy? If we can't figure it out, we just call it both. The third thing is that people bring up is sci-fi as a genre, sometimes called classic sci-fi, which generally is a setting agnostic and refers to stories that use fantastic technology or situations as a means of making a point about or exploring part of our existing world. Stranger in a Strange Land is a classic example of this, using the existence of life on Mars as an excuse to put a character on Earth who could examine humanity from a completely alien viewpoint. Solaris is another one, exploring guilt by having characters encounter something that literally manifests guilt. Some of the older Black Mirror episodes are great examples of classic sci-fi. The one with the chip that could replay memories comes to mind, or the dead husband clone for grieving space. Yeah.
No, that was a good one, yeah.
Fantasy is pretty firmly established as a collection of setting tropes within the broad umbrella of not the real world. The trouble comes when people get loose with sci-fi as a setting versus a genre. It's not their fault, the terminology isn't great. So I'm both with and against this particular post, because, I mean, I would not say that fantasy as a setting is about mysteries, thrills, or adventures that takes place in a fantastic world or a fantasy world versions of the real world, because you can have sci-fi fantasy. You can have aliens and all that shit who are simply in a less technologically advanced thing. So the question is, if you have a character get isekai'd Can we complete?
Oh God!
Now, just stand by. Just stand by. Right. If a character gets isekai to a completely alien world with completely non-humanoid type, I don't know, creatures, but they're all still in like medieval stages of like there's castles, fortifications, they fight with melee weapons. Is it sci-fi or is it fantasy? I think that there's a bit... People have put too much power in the words of science fiction and fantasy.
Garbo, you don't get it. It's got science in the name. Do you not trust the science?
Well,
I don't think you trust the science.
Well, it all kind of crumbles when you have a fantasy setting that has science. I think the differentiating factor is how advanced the science is in that particular equation. I think they should just call it sci-fi fantasy. It's just in general, because it's still, because none of this shit exists, so it's still fantasy. It's still a fantastic way of seeing it that it doesn't exist. The sci-fi part of it is simply just, you know, is it advanced? Is it not advanced? Could a story about a advanced civilization that's just behind us? So say you write a book, right? But it's all stuck in like the 1810s, 1900s. Now, it's still technologically advanced. There's no swords, there's no catapults, but it is technically not as advanced as modern world, but still advanced enough to not be, you know, sword and board slayer fantasy. Yeah. Is it science fiction or is it fantasy?
I would argue it's what they are trying to do in the story. Maybe is it the tropes that they're looking for? Like again, okay, let's go back to it. I suppose because it's a good example. Star Wars, Save the Princess. Oh, the mystical wizard. It's very you know what I mean? The mystical wizard. The mystical wizard of an ancient order. The farm boy. The roguish swashbuckler.
Now,
you know.
Here's the funny part, though, right? Was when if you go and actually analyze Star Wars, there are a lot of fucking sword fights, and B, these laser bolts travel so fucking slowly that it could be about the same like flight velocity of a fucking arrow. Just
it would be actually.
For God's sakes, a giant bear man uses a fucking space crossbow to nail people. Like, for God's sakes.
Yeah, but that shit's a fucking cool, though, Garb. Okay, you know
fucking
what?
Bowcasters.
Yeah. Okay, you know what it comes down to? What's the fucking coolest, man? Okay, you know what makes for a more cool set? I don't know if technology means anything when it comes to either of these. Honestly, I'm kind of at the point where it's like I think it's just what. Okay, a good example.
It is what it is.
No, well. In fantasy, they use gods. In sci-fi, they use AI. Like, they may as well be the same thing.
Perhaps.
They're very different at the same time. Look at all these. In the past there was this is why we don't use this technology because the AI went rogue and it did this.
40k.
In the Terminator or anything else you can think of, Dune as well. There's loads of other examples. Another good one would be, in the past there was a battle of the gods, and now this god we don't, you know what I mean? But their worshippers are rising up. You know what I mean? It's very, very similar. It may as well be the same thing.
That's why I find Star Wars so curious, right? Because there are technically gods in Star Wars. There are the Force manifests. It's the brother, the sister, and the father, and the mother. There technically are gods in Star Wars, but it's literally 4 gods for the entire fucking galaxy. Like, that's all there is. You have 4, that's it, fuck you, here's your choices. And the fact that these god powers can easily manifest if you had enough midichlorians in your fucking system. But, you know, when you think about it, really, like, I think Star Wars is the most perfect so far blend of the two, because you think about it, look at the Battle of Scarif. You've got stormtroopers running towards it with rebels or spaceships, and you got some motherfucker with a goddamn bow down below who's a force sensitive monk man, fucking lacing up ships and shit with literally a fucking space longbow for the whole fucking thing.
To be fair though, I think what they were trying to complete there was like a weird mix between. Honestly, for some weird reason, I'm thinking like World War II D-Day and mixed with Korea, mixed with Bay of Pigs. I don't know why.
I would call it more Vietnam, actually. I would say it's more of a...
Would you go Vietnam?
It's more of...
because they did have... Yeah, because they even had the helicopters and stuff.
It's more Juno Beach meets like the first assault of the first air cav in fucking... what was the place called? Shit. Hold on.
Well, either way, it's really common though. Like George Lucas did that shit all the time.
Yeah.
Like he was mixing in samurai movies with spaghetti westerns and World War II movies.
That's just Star Wars. You're just go back to Star Wars.
Yeah. That's may as well be the same thing. Also, I don't think we're going to end up touching anything in this thread. I think I'd rather just. Sorry, guys. This is what happens all the time. We do videos and then it's like, can you guys just read what's on.
Hey guys, sorry for interrupting your video, but I'm sure you've already heard by now that we have our first ever Kickstarter up and live. It's the Gas Station Tabletop Role-Playing Sourcebook. It's got this many days left. I don't know how many days is left, but this is how many's left. It's a one-off print, so once this Kickstarter's finished, we don't intend to do another print.
Unless there's overwhelming numbers of people that really, really want it. We intend this to be a one-off thing. We might print it again in like 3-4 years' time.
Who knows? But if you're interested, you can check out the video link below that's showing everything in it and everything you need to know about it. Thank you so much for your support and everyone that's pledged so far, and let's get back to the video. And today's lucky winner is this guy. Well done! Well done! To claim your prize, just send an email to Neckbeardia contact@gmail.com. Now let's get back to the video.
So basically, so I believe that this scene though was basically a mixture of like Ladrang Valley when the first air assault forces came in, mixed with D-Day, because it's one of those things where it captures a mood.
Yeah, it does. It definitely does.
But like, go back to what the thread is though. I think people are putting too much leverage on words, really. So on these words, fantasy or sci-fi, because I mean, you could have, say, like 30 years from now, we have our own AI and shit. If we look backwards and write a book about 2022 and all the fucking Zoomers, it's gonna be considered fantasy, because despite being scientifically progressive in that particular time frame of here and now, we'll be so backwards and behind that's no longer considered sci-fi. It's not advanced. You're not looking forward in time. It's considered.
I think you have it wrong. It's not going to be seen as that. It's going to be seen as bigotry. So it will be. Just get that
dystopian fantasy of 2022.
No, because like you don't find like even like that. Oh my god! I can only hope it's died out by that point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I really hope people have wised up by that point. Please don't make it get any worse. I'm so demoralized.
I really do think that they should just do it as fiction. This is fiction and non-fiction, because once you get into the subgenres of fiction, like science fiction, fantasy fiction, dystopian fiction, it's more or less just like descriptors at that point. But even then, like my shit, the publishers I went through, mind you, these aren't like hoity-toity fucking rainbow hair publishers, but like sub-publishers, they said, hey, your stuff should be like science fiction. And I was like, well, this is actually like the Veil Rider, so like how should that be science fiction? Well, because you're going from one land to another, and the main land is fantasy, but you're shoving in technologically advanced shit. And they broke it down, and I was like, yeah, I can kind of see where they're coming from. Like, it was basically they try to call it a wartime science fiction fantasy is what they called it. They went science fiction fantasy, and I was like,
I would call it like a present day. I would argue it's closer to something like Bright almost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just set in a different world. The technology is like
great,
not that different.
Great example. So Bright, you have orcs and centaurs and elves.
I love Bright. Yeah.
But is that considered fantasy or is it science fiction?
Okay, well, see, this is the thing. If they were just aliens...
Aliens.
Yeah, well, that's... essentially, yeah, I think if they were just aliens, it would be like, yeah, that's of course it is. But again, like, what are these creatures? These creatures are ingrained in the human psyche. Like centaurs... I don't know how... I'm going to assume you do, because I know how much you fucking love centaurs. But centaurs essentially... Beast, they're heavily based off they come from the Scythians. They were horse nomadic tribes people that lived around the Black Sea.
More like Basians, am I right?
Yeah. Well, think of them as like very early proto-Mongol type peoples, or like Turkish people, so they were. But again, like, that they're the idea of an ancient... Again, what was it with the centaur? It was I can't remember. I think it was one of Zeus's children, whoever was strong enough to pull back the bow.
It was what was his face? Remember. There's an actual god about it. Not Cernunnos. It was something else.
I can't remember.
But anyway, so the real question here now that you brought up is like, well, if they're aliens, be science fiction. So are these genres, controlled purely by what is in the setting? Like, if it's an orc, it's fantasy. If it's a space orc, it's science fiction. It seems like it's a very, very thin corridor they walk down, because if you got, well, it's about elves, and you're like, oh, so it's fantasy, but they have laser guns and spaceships. Oh, fuck, it's science fiction now. Like, is it technology, or is it simply the races and species? Or sorry, the folks.
Yeah, exactly. Garber, you wouldn't want to be a bigot. You know what?
Too late, I'm already a bigot. You can't stop me. None of you can stop me.
For me, I'm gonna go for it's what they want to explore. Like, for instance, we'll go back to Star Wars. Star Wars, they want to go into they want to do the hero trope. They want to do a lot of again, like, the ancient order, the wizards, all that type of shit. Whereas something like Star Trek, they want to explore what humans will be like in the future. Maybe it's a longing for what in sci-fi, it's what we want us to become or what we want us to achieve in the future, and fantasy would be more enjoying what we are today.
Now you say that, which I can see, but if you look back and say, what could have orcs been? And you go through that timeline, is it still fantasy or is it science fiction?
Well, again, orcs, it would be one of those ones whereabouts are you from? Are orcs a form of dark servants, so, like, servants of a dark lord? Or are they corrupted souls? Are they just a group of people that you don't like the English? Or for Americans in this day and age, especially West Coast Americans, they like to be, they're black people. You know what
West Coast Americans.
Yeah.
You mean non-people?
Yeah. But you get what I'm
yeah.
for.
So,
you know what I mean? Like,
see,
orcs have always been used as a term for the enemy. Like, again, you could argue they were used quite a bit. Like, even like World War One, Kaiser and stuff like that. Germans described as, you look at the propaganda.
The Huns.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, no. I'll actually tell you the story why they got the name the Hun. So it was to do with they were sending them away to, I think it was somewhere in Asia or somewhere, I can't remember. It might have been Africa. No, it was
Africa.
It might have. No, it might. I think it was the, what do you call that, war with Turkey. Either way, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It was like
Roach War.
1880s. Yeah, I can't remember the name off the top of my head. I know you guys are going to shout at me in the comments anyway, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter in these sort of videos. But anyway, he said, "You shall go across and conquer like the ancient Huns of the past," or something. That's what he called them, soldiers Huns, and they were like, "What the fuck?" And that was just like ultimate propaganda piece. Like, honestly though, Kaiser Wilhelm never did himself any favors. There's just been a lot of times where you just like,
well, Kaiser Wilhelm was a fucking Prussia boo, so he was,
yeah.
But
well, I mean, he was Prussian, so it's hard not to be a Prussia boo, especially back then.
Yeah.
See, he's actually like, if there's one person to be a Prussia boo, you know what? I'll let the king of the country be a Prussia boo.
Yeah. You see, in my opinion, I actually believe the term science fiction is outdated. Like, because it came back to when science fiction was, think like War of the Worlds. That was science fiction. They're going to come from space and destroy our steamships. I think we've gotten too far ahead in time to really have science fiction as we know it be a thing. It's no longer the 1970s, 80s where you can have Star Trek and Battlestar Galactica. Like, we are nearing that. Like, once we take to the stars and we have our spaceships and we have our our fucking cool shit, can you really have science fiction at that point? Like, what? Because at that point, if a writer aboard the USS like Dick McFucking in space I'll write a book about what we may see. Is that simply just fiction? Is it still science fiction? If I would write a book about the 1990s, is that considered fantasy or is that considered fiction or dystopian? Knowing how it all went, in my opinion, we've gotten too far ahead. We've gotten too advanced to truly have science fiction. Like, I think at this point you can still kind of sort of get it. Like, we haven't quite mastered space travel yet, but there's going to be a point where science fiction is simply modern day. It won't be able to apply.
I think you got something going there. I definitely do, but I do think maybe when it comes to like future tech, we need to think of it in very different ways. Does that make sense? So this is one thing I've been reading an awful lot about is the fourth industrial revolution, and one of the key points in the industrial revolution is technology will just be outdated so quickly. Like stuff that will be considered like
advanced,
top of the line, will be considered redundant within 2 years, and that's expected to just keep going and keep going.
That's this current PC culture right now. Like, I got a new GPU, it's outdated. Fuck!
Yeah, well, that's more on companies' end, if I be honest with you. Like, that's a lot of times that's more companies. But one of the ones that we haven't explored an awful lot yet, and when you think about it, it's still relatively new. So we only finished mapping the human genome in 2003. It's something that is still relatively new. Like, when you think about it, the personal computer was... It was the same distance away, so whenever the first personal computer came out, within 20 years' time, then we saw the mapping of the human genome. We're now the same distance away from when we mapped the genome to... Does that make sense?
Well, actually, I think it goes even further. In 1995, a cell phone was this big-ass fucking brick of indestructible plastic made from fucking Nintendium. It was a big thing. Only rich kids had them. And you see these movies where we have, like, a phone on our wrist, and we have vehicles that drive themselves. Oh, it's science fiction! In only 30 short years or so, we have all that shit now. We have wrist phones. We have self-driving cars. Like, so toddlers have cell phones.
Yeah, that's terrifying, man. I don't even want to think about that. But I think now is the time where we need to start really thinking what new technology will there be. And I think one of the big ones that we're going to see is altering human DNA as a whole.
Hold on. Are you saying we're going to get cat girls in the next 30 years?
Unironic, well, not.
I better start saving up.
Well, it could be like, think of the idea. Would you pay for a designer child? So say you could say you're gonna.
No. You laugh. If I could pay for my son to have a bigger dick, I will do it. He will thank me for it.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
I did it for you, Jeremy. I did it for you.
I was talking to Megan about this, and at first she was like, no, definitely not. She doesn't like that idea at all. What happens if you already take your genetics? Let's just take your genetics to the next level. What if we can guarantee that their IQ is going to be in the 170 range? What if we can guarantee they're going to be this tall, they're going to have this immune system, they're going to live healthily and have a good body well into their 90s.
Actually, that could work for Burger Punk, the thing we're running. That could work for us.
Yeah, well, I would like to think that you have been reading the notes that I've been writing. But yeah, I actually did put that in Burger Punk. That's one of the things I've been.
But the thing is, though, that could be a pretty good book because that would create a whole new class of person. Yeah, you have the natural borns and the engineered.
Yeah. Well, again, look, think of it. This is one I was talking to Megan, right? And she was like, "James, don't be."
This is a podcast now.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. So anyway, we'll try and do this one, and then we'll finish up. So I was talking to Megan about this, and this is one thing you need to really remember is when you talk or you look at a lot of celebrity types, why are they related to like aristocracy? Why is there so many of them that are related to nobles or they're related to famous people or you've got like billionaire families, and like it's really weird how they seem to be related. And we saw that in the past when it came to like nobility and stuff. Like the idea of like Americans don't really have it that much, but in the UK,
well, we saw how that worked out by all the inbreeding and the paintings of it.
But you do breed a different group of human beings. Like even mannerisms, the way they talk, the way they interact, their decorum, everything about them. When you meet someone who isn't from the same social class.
Oh, hold on. You're discussing advanced instantaneous evolution. What we're talking about? Yeah. Like you go in, you go, you know what? Because basically, like look at like the modern Englishman and the modern Australian. One's a lot tougher than the other. But that happened over about 3 or 4, if not 5 or 6 generations. Now, imagine being a scientist go, I can make that happen like that. You have instantaneous generational evolution via science. That'd be dope as fuck.
And we're definitely going to see that. I think that's definitely going to be a big thing. There's going to be a genetically engineered humans, which are going to be so much more capable than the average human will ever be. Like, you know, what if you could just be like, yeah, these people are going to be able to smash any form of... They're going to be Olympian tier when it comes to any form of manual activities. They are going to be able to run faster. They're going to have their
That would be a fascinating book because A... what would the drawbacks be? And B, would that affect the psyche of knowing I was not naturally born this way, I was made this way? Would they actually treasure what they actually have because I didn't earn this? It was given to me. I was given these tools. Like Bob, who's in the woods, he's earning all his shit. He wasn't born this way. He's having to go and make it. I was given these tools, you know, from birth. I wonder how that would happen with the human psyche.
Well, this is where it's going to get interesting because by the time we hit that point, I believe, when it comes to AI, don't think of it. This is a problem we've got when we think about AI. Now, it depends on what way you want to look at it. Best case scenario, this is how it turns out for me, or how I want it to be. The AI doesn't rise up and kill us all. What I really want it to be is kind of like how we see smartphones. We don't see, well, people do see smartphones as evil, but we see them as an extension of ourselves.
Yeah.
What if instead of AI, you have augmented intelligence? What if you can connect yourself?
Handy helpers. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. What if you can, with technology, you can increase brain activity? You know what I mean? Instead of it taking over, it's combining together.
Yeah, see, that's why I like Star Wars, because all the droid units, they do work together. They have their personalities. They look at our fucking like R2 and shit. Like, it's oddly wholesome how that's got own personality. I think it'll happen eventually.
No, that is one thing that Star Wars does absolutely amazingly, is their droids are just so fucking good. How can they make droids so lovable? You know,
mind you, IG-88 kind of fucked that up for everyone. But he went a bit rogue. Even then, like, he went, you know what? I can't kill all of you. I'll be a bounty hunter. Fuck it. You know, like he finally assimilated to society. Fuck it. I'll be a bounty hunter.
But I don't know. I think it. I don't know. And again, this is something you see again. This is why Star Wars most definitely isn't science fiction. Is science fiction always tries to talk about AI? They always try and talk
in a negative light.
At what point does a machine turn into a human? At what point can you program an emotion? At what point do they become real emotion?
Well, see, that's Halo in a nutshell. That's Halo in a nutshell.
And then whereas Star Wars just doesn't do that. They just be like, some places droids are discriminated against, but we just wipe their memories from time to time. But you know what I mean? It's that type of thing.
Yeah.
We treat them as friends, and we're like think of them as like pets, but not. I
always see them more as like co-workers or like pack mates, because you know the human psyche will pack bond to fucking Roombas and shit. I think like once a droid knows, me and you are friends, I understand that they're probably not gonna want to fucking kill you because me and you are friends. And like if you buy your psychologically advanced Roomba like a new hat, you're friends forever because human bought me a hat, we're friends now, and it's not gonna want to kill you. Because I think like the human pack bonding shit will save humanity from like a Matrix type situation. Like, you know what, you make my coffee, I like you like me because I buy you a fancy scarf for winter. You know, we're friends now.
Let's just hope that's how it turns out. So we're coming up on 30 minutes. Yeah, we didn't really talk about this threat at all, but I'm okay with that because
the threat was a good jumping point for sure.
Yeah, I think it's a good place to start. Yeah, it's more that, pretty much, that's what I would be. But I think it's a really interesting topic, and I would really love to hear what your guys' thoughts is. The big one that I really want to hear about is, where do you think technology is heading next? I feel like a lot of the ideas whenever we were kids, like the idea of like flying cars and self-driving cars and all that type of stuff, it's, you know what, my technology that I want to see come back, I want to see the idea of the night coming back, the idea of
the night,
I want to see power armor coming back. That's what I
want. The thing is, though, if EMP weapons become a big thing, and if our guns go digital, you're going to have a side armor. Why not have a fucking big ass sword? Because eventually, I mean, there are still melee fights in modern day. There's a reason why you have a bayonet and a knife, to affix to your fucking rifle, because eventually you might run out of ammunition. You make, well, I got my knife, here we fucking go. It's one of those things. Like even in 40K, you still, if you want to avoid getting artilleried or mortared or tanked, you close the distance.
I don't know. I like to think of. Oh fuck! I lost what I was going to say. Either way, I think that's where we're going to wrap up for today. Otherwise, it's going to go on all day. I think it's a really interesting topic.
It is. So is the term science fiction simply outdated? Is too old hat?
I think our view on science fiction is outdated, and I think we need to update it and see where
we had to update our science fiction.
No, I do. Yeah, because honestly, we do need to update it, because I think people are still thinking video phones and shit like that, or self-driving
androids,
cars, or that stuff's about to happen. It's definitely happening.
I would say next 5-10 years probably. They're on the cusp of it.
So what's not going to be in our lifetime? That's the question. What technology do you think will happen?
Hot aliens, small tear flies down cheek.
Yeah, but what do you think will happen, but probably won't happen within our lifetimes watching today? You know what I mean? What do you think is definitely within human ingenuity, but what are we just that one wee bit off? I don't know where else to go with that. I was thinking about something now. I was like, you know what? That's just going to bring us into a completely new topic.
We need to do.
I already said this was the end of the video.
You do a video where you put out a poll and start going over comments. I think we did a little more interaction with the boys and gals, or sorry, girl, in the comment section.
The one female,
the singular femoid,
Megan's alt account. But yeah, here, check out Garbu's channel. I don't know why you haven't already. If you like having Garbu,
it's because you hate me, isn't it?
Yeah, it's we're just pretending to like Garbu.
Yeah, so on my channel we're doing I guess fiction and science fiction stories where we are kind of ignoring the rules of writing and politeness, because you won't find any woke shit on my fucking channel. And I hire voice actors to voice the characters, so you're getting a full audio drama experience for free.
Exactly. Not bad at all. Also, Garbu did help us. Garbu did help us with the gas station Kickstarter. There's still a few days left on it. I can't remember the exact.
You'll probably realize which ones are mine too. If it involves waifus, it's probably mine.
Yeah, you can definitely tell Garbu's guidance style. I was going over it. Oh, I should probably say about that. Well, you know what? I'll need to save that for a dedicated video. But I know there's going to be some people not happy about it, but I've got a new guy doing the format, because we went over it a bit. We've condensed it, and we're trying to format it better.
Yeah.
I think so pretty much there's more in it, but there's less pages. But I think people are going to complain about that. But you're getting more.
Oh my god, it's so cramped. How could you do this to me?
And I want to have it all in the one page. You know what I mean? You kind of want to get. You don't want to be flicking. You know what I mean? You want to try and.
I flick beans, sir, not pages. Get yourself in control.
But yeah, that's where I think we're going to love yous and leave yous. All the links down below. Anything else? No?
So comment below what you think, and we'll go back over your comments and discuss them in a podcast type format, I think. It'd be kind of fun to do.
Yeah. I think
we can roast you on YouTube.
Yeah. That's great. It's absolute brainlet. You know what I mean? It's like, what type of comment is this? You know what I mean?
What kind of fucking comment is this? Who the fucking think you are?
No, I think, honestly, I think we actually get really good comments. YouTube's notorious for having some of the worst comment sections out of anywhere on the internet, or at least it used to. I think
any political video ever is just turned off.
Yeah, just don't bother. You're probably gonna have a better time. But anyway, look, that's what we're gonna love yous and leave yous. Leave your comments down below, and we'll see you next time.
Bye bye.